Salakowasha, Tibu Mokoluki, Salayukutta, Ruka, Kuyaluki, funding on major funding. Kuya Yuguluki Waneka, U.S. Department of Justice, Sea Lion Cooperation, Seventh Generation for Ingenious People, Rasmussen Foundation, Coastal Villages Regional Fund, local businesses and community members, Mangak Women's Shelter, Tundra Women's Coalition, Alaska Native Women's Resource Center, Alaska Network on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, Puna Engineering, Arctic Office Supply. Salita kapnata, tamamta kuyong kaluta, Puna, Kuya lukuchak iking kangrak naput, ita te kamstun salak koluta. Tasuk suta piyo akunta, cik pun. Makut tingu la putum iwak suku. Guna, cik nak suku. Tak suku na kunga. Kuyana, di suku nilo cik sal kuyana, telu.
Acting Auckland Mayor David Green.
Okay, Mayor David. Kuyanga una ikikada kami. Wisal naksayo mo kami kalingong sa amil kanin. Na umatal nga natin para nakal kitawan pa kada. Asisip to kami kalingong pa kada. Tawag kuyanga una ikikada kami. Kutong maksik to. Tapos pati sa tanong ako na sila. Okay, sudah. Sispat perlu lawan atas sudah berkondak asin rodi ko. Tang mekel ngopot tang makut nak kapit mai. Mai pa. Iling ilut kita tang hakam ki. Tak pun ada silak kelabut makut mekel ngopot. Unda tuh ke tang umewaka ikikatin asir umewaka taga masjid tok dal mikilungun tang kakama koyang ako ikikinak sa ngona koyang ako kis ausutin ikpunga nakadulugo duwani ka tawa kasama tayo sa ultimo ay ipin nilo.
Yuksun kasatun supit sika, malgut chalis tiput, wanis paksaktarit, apaklan, sista legal services advocate, and Smith. Tamakamag Ayamok, she is advocate, relief advocate. Ukutlu, Chalistipat, Marvin Todamov, command of his helps with tech. Eunice Jones is the health and wellness specialist. If you guys want to come up and introduce yourselves, maybe it'll be better.
Hi, I'm Marvin. I work the night shift here as a victim service advocate, so I'll be working the night shift.
We should victim services coordinator ukut angayok hiluki. Ikin kachikok 24/7, 7 days a week. Nanikalgit aganat mikalngutlo astakaksuki. Grand opening next week, we'll officially start taking in clients on the 22nd. Damang national community. Wanika ilang ka? Hi, Eunice Charlie. I work with health and wellness specialist. Working with children and women. Suddenly, Ruth Imolha, service advocate. Deanna Smart, victim services advocate. Lena Smith, victim services advocate. Henrietta Long, relief advocate. During this COVID season, there'll be 3 personnel allowed in the shelter, 2 in the office, 1 in the commons. There are 3 bedrooms. We'll be able to take 3 families in, but if there's an overflow, we have pull-out beds that we can allow them to stay in the commons room. And we have posted phone numbers, fax numbers, websites, in public places, even on the Hooper Bay broadcast channel. Okay, we have Edgar Hosser on behalf of Sea Line.
Our President Martin Netting requested that one of our board members speak on behalf of Sea Line Corporation. He sent his regards that we have something that is for the community, and working collaboratively with our 2 governments, this and with Rural Cap, this has become a success to the community. And we've been working with Rural Cap for a number of years, and as you know, the Wellness Center is also a work that collaborating with Rural Cap with the communities organizations that make positive things for our community, and we hope to keep on going collaboratively with the entities to get more things are happening within our village. Thank you.
Yeah, CEO Patrick Anderson.
Good morning, and welcome to the grand opening celebration for the Bay Haven Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Center. My name is Patrick Anderson, and I serve as the Chief Executive Officer for the Rural Alaska Community Action Program. I am excited that this opportunity is available to the villages of Hooper Bay, Chevak, and Scammon Bay. I certainly want to thank my Rural Cap team who worked with the village to make this dream a reality. And I especially want to thank Hooper Bay Chief Eric Olson and the Sea Lion Corporation for their partnership with Rural Cap. There are many other partners who worked with us to ensure that we have good policies and procedures in place for working with the vulnerable citizens who will be using Bay Haven. Funding for this project comes from a number of sources, and we want to thank the U.S. Department of Justice, the Sea Lion Corporation, the Rasmussen Foundation, the 7th Generation Fund for Indigenous Peoples, and the Coastal Villages Fund. And especially welcome to our special guests, U.S. Senator Lisa Murkowski by video, Alaska Senator Donnie Olson, Department of Health and Social Services Commissioner Adam Crum, and Alaska Representative Neil Foster. Each of them has a deep and long-standing interest in the safety and health of our families and their children. I applaud their leadership as we work towards making our villages safe. As we move forward, Rural Cap takes seriously its mission of healthy people, and as we look for what makes a community healthy, we found a huge clue in the Adverse Childhood Experience study. The amount of adversity a child experiences in their life, including witnessing domestic violence, can affect how healthy they are as adults. Those with the highest exposure to adverse childhood experiences are most at risk and are generally described as having toxic stress. which means 4 or more of the adverse childhood experiences. We know, for example, that having 6 of the 10 experiences studied makes an adult male 4,600% more likely to become an IV drug user as an adult. Those with 6 or more ACEs have, on average, a 20-year shorter life expectancy than those with 0. And of those with 7 or more experiences, 35% of them will attempt suicide in their lives. Adults with no negative experiences have minimal risk. The first step to becoming aware of toxic stress is to recognize it. When we know our history and what impacts are on us, we can start healing. The second step towards healing is to find a safe place. Bay Haven promises to be that safe place. In 1965, when I was 11 years old and living in the north end of Seattle, right by Lincoln High School in a duplex we called Fred's Place, I woke up in the early morning to sounds of my mother screaming. Startled by the sounds, I got out of bed and walked quietly but quickly to the bedroom where my 4 sisters were sleeping. Along the way, as I passed through our kitchen, I grabbed a black cast iron frying pan. At the time, I was about 5 feet tall and weighed 89 pounds. My mother's boyfriend was 5 foot 10 inches tall and weighed 230 pounds. I had no chance against him, but my fear response only told me to protect myself and my sisters. My path to my sister's bedroom went by my mother's bedroom, and I had a very brief glimpse of what was going on. When I reached my destination, I gathered my sisters and quietly guided them into their closet, with an unfinished space to the right where I lined them up behind me. I had so much fear that I don't remember what happened after that. That moment helped to define my life. I learned that fear is the enemy of good health. A lot of good science proves that. It is my hope that as we work with our families, we can provide them with a safe place where they can escape the fear caused by domestic violence, such as that as I witnessed in my house that evening. And we want to work with the villages to reduce those violent behaviors and those negative experiences by our children. But today is a day of hope, celebration. On Monday, the hard work begins. Again, thanks to all of you for starting this journey with us, and let's find that pathway to safety and to good health for our communities. Have a wonderful day.
Tingnan sa Senator McCoskey, videotape alis ko, Baklisia po na naglitaskat. Here is Senator McCoskey.
Waka, Chamai, and Quiana Daluchi, thank you for coming to celebrate the historic opening of the Bay Haven Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Shelter. I'm happy that I could be with you by way of this video. It'd be great to be there in person, but we know that that's not happening these days. But to recognize you on this accomplishment is wonderful. Because I know that the opening of this shelter has been years in the making, and it's the result of continuous advocacy and hard work. I'd like to recognize the local community and tribal organizations for coming together to ensure the various partnerships building on the success of this shelter. So thank you to the Native Village of Hooper Bay for partnering with Rural CAP and the U.S. Department of Justice, and to the Sea Lion Corporation who provided the facility. This shelter will bring much needed resources to the women and men of Hooper Bay, as well as Chevak and Scammon Bay. And as you work to protect women and children in your region, know that I am continuing my work here in Washington, D.C. to address domestic violence, sexual assault, not only in Alaska, but across our country. I've used my position on the Appropriations Committee to allocate funding for domestic violence programs and shelters, including one in Emonic. Last year, for the first time ever, we directed funding, $6.5 million, to focus on the tragedy of murdered and missing Native women. I've been leading on those legislative efforts as well. Back in March, the Senate unanimously passed two bills. One was called the Savannah's Act and the other one was called the Not Invisible Act. I led on both of those. But these bills aim to improve the federal government's response to the epidemic of those who have gone missing or who are found murdered by focusing on increased coordination of our law enforcement as well as development of best practices. What we're trying to do is shine a light on an issue that has been in the dark for far too long. I am hopeful that both of these measures will be taken up by the House of Representatives very soon. We think that this is long overdue, but it is progress and our work continues. During these unprecedented times of a global pandemic, know that I'm working hard to ensure that families have the resources that they need to address the emotional hardships and behavioral health crises that are an unintended consequence of the stay-at-home orders. We know that for many, their home is not a safe place. We also know that just because we're seeing fewer women actually come to the shelters themselves during COVID does not mean that all is well at home. I'm advocating with other colleagues that Department of Justice and HHS provide supplemental resources to our communities to address domestic violence and sexual assault during this time of COVID-19. Another area of my focus has been on homeless families, and I've introduced legislation to provide supplemental funding for our direct service providers, including domestic violence shelters, to assist our homeless children, youth, and families with comprehensive services to help them get back on their feet. There is so much that we have to do, so much to do together as we work to keep women and families safe. So please know that I stand with all of you. I am so, so grateful for your hard work, your resilience, and your persistence, which is demonstrated in today's opening of the Bay Haven shelter. Congratulations. Thank you to all of you. Be well.
Yeah, good morning, people there of Hooper Bay. I think this is a very significant step in the right direction for those people that are most in need. And that I want to thank everybody from Hooper Bay for pulling together to try and make it so that we had state involvement as well as federal involvement. And we certainly appreciate all the people of Hooper Bay, Chevak, and Scammon Bay with this, who are the primary beneficiaries of the shelter, and particularly those family and children that will benefit from it so much. Together we'll be able to help the villages begin the process of healing and make it so that victims of the domestic violence and sexual assault will be able to go ahead and find a place of refuge during the very critical time, especially for children. I'd like to thank Pat Anderson for organizing the event and for the people that have been participating. And I look forward to seeing the positive momentum that the new shelter will bring to the communities of our region here, especially during a time of great change and the upcoming challenges we'll be facing within our state. So again, thank you very much.
Deputy Commissioner Al.
Just a quick note, I know you invited Commissioner Crum to come and speak, and he is honored by that. He had an emergent issue with the COVID response that he had to attend and asked me to take his place. And so my name is Deputy Commissioner Albert Wall. I'm with Health and Social Services. I too would just like to thank the people of Hooper Bay and the tribes for their efforts in response and prevention of this terrible issue. I think we are aware of what the needs are in some cases we are not. And I think that the opening of this facility will have tremendous impact on the area. I've been involved in behavioral health treatment most of my life, and the travesty and the impact of domestic violence and assault really drives a lot of behavioral health issues among people lifelong. And so I think if we can turn the corner on this issue, we can help out in many different areas that touch this issue as well. And so again, the department is happy to be a part of this discussion and the opening. We are happy for your people, and we are happy to collaborate with you in response to this issue moving forward. So thank you very much, and blessings upon you.
Hello, is Representative Neil Foster on the line?
Neil Foster's online. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, no, thank you
Yeah.
for inviting me to be a part of this really, really important event. You know, it's a great example of what can be done through collaboration and when multiple organizations put their heads together to find solutions. I also want to say hats off to everyone, and particularly at Rural Captain Native Village of Hooper Bay there. Over the years, Patrick Anderson has really educated a lot of folks about the impacts of adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. I've met with him numerous times down in Juneau there, known him for many years, and Bay Haven will certainly not only be a shelter for victims of sexual assault and domestic violence, but it will also be a place where folks have access to resources and learn how to travel that long road toward healing. And with it being located there in Hooper Bay, it will take into account cultural factors, of course, which is also important to healing. And I just look forward to hearing more as the shelter starts its operation. And again, I just want to give a big thank you to all the organizations who have helped to make this possible. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Just una answer questions and answer of our and to the best of our ability, we'll answer. We're still going through a lot of trainings, and so if you guys have any questions you guys want to ask, you can answer to the level of our training.